Hello, everybody. Welcome to horse racing today at Kentucky Downs. I know I'm supposed to be joined by Thomas. We thought the races were going to start a little bit later than they are, so he'll be joining me just in a moment. So race one coming up in about 4 minutes. So I get to work pretty quickly on what is happening in race number one. In the first race, they're going to go 6 furlongs on the turf for a maiden race, $150,000. Fillies 2 years old and up. Obviously, maidens haven't won yet. At the distance of 6 furlongs, they haven't run a whole lot of races yet, or 2 of them, tactical speed. None have gone wire to wire. You had one winner from post 4 through 7 and another from 8 and out. Again, these are all maidens, so we normally do some work around here with simulations, but unfortunately, the simulations aren't necessary with a bunch of first-time starters in there, so we'll just go straight to the picks. As you can see, Tom likes the 3, the 10, and the 14. I'm not quite sure why, but he'll let us know when he joins us shortly, I hope. I'm going to go with the 8 horse here, Noto. This one has a really couple nice workouts and some really good breeding since its first start. 2 Ship Sally, the 10 horse, does have a bullet workout a couple of races ago, and then that been followed by a maintenance work. Lit It Up Louis is the next shot for me, a bullet and go, which if we look over here, a bullet and go, this is an angle I learned from Barry Meadows' book, The Skeptical Handicapper. Oops, went too far. Sorry, forgive me. Right here, you see that last workout was a bullet, and it's going to take that to the track. That angle hits at more than 15%. I call that an alpha angle. And then the final horse we have in here is the 12 horse. She's a Saint. We'll go with another first-time starter. I like this back here. One of the things that's been really working for me lately is you see here this bullet workout, and then followed by a trio of maintenance workouts. And the horse does have some decent turf breeding as well, but this angle really has been paying off for me on the maiden races. So hopefully it'll pay off today again at a price, because in the first race, looking at that 12 horse, you're looking at odds right now of about 28-1. So not too bad with that. So a couple of minutes before that first race starts, quick couple of notes before we move on to that. Today's free track is at Guaranteed Tip Sheet. It is Prairie Meadows. You'll see down here. There is a link in the description down below. Kindly click on that so you can head on over to Prairie Meadows. You'll see if you click on that, it is indeed the free track of the day. And it does, well, let's see, the first best bet is coming up in race number 6. Billy Bob Rocket. Other than that, a lot of good picks in there. So if you're going to play Prairie Meadows tonight, at 6 p.m., make sure you tune in for that. Again, there's a link in the description down there below. First rates, they're approaching the gate for this maiden special weight race, the 2 horse. That one is your favorite right now. That one is Light It Up Louis, my 3rd selection. And then you have a bunch of other horses that are mid-priced in there. The 3 horse, Spiritual Lady, Tom's choice in there at 6-1. You have the 8 horse, Noto, my top choice, 5-1. The 10 horse, my second choice, 2 Sip Sally, also 5-1. And then, of course, that 12 horse, Obama at 30-1. I think it's actually the second longest in the field right now. So certainly be nice to get off to a good start with that one. Let's see how they're lining up right now. I got a few horses to go before the first race kicks off. Let's see. You got the 4, the 6, the 7, the 11, 12, and 14. And then once they get cooking, you will have race number 1 in the books on this Saturday. So hopefully we got a bunch of winners today, folks, and hopefully Tom joins us soon. Otherwise, I'm going to need a lot of water or something along those lines. I'm going to just text Tom real quick and let him know. All right, folks, let's see what goes on. Unfortunately, I can't put the race on the screen and get ourselves in a little bit of trouble if we do that. Don't want to do that for certain. That's not the – I tried a couple of times to get some services that would let us show the races, and in return, we would advocate, or at least in a relationship, then get some site of offer where you can go at one of these sites that do show the races for maybe a little bit of a discount. A code word, and then go ahead and get a little bit of a discount to watch the races too, for all the races, not just the ones that we're showing. All right, so the first race is underway at Kentucky Downs on this 12 race card. Bunch of stakes races today. It looks to me like the 11 horse maybe has the lead out front, followed by the 6 and then the 7 horse. The 3 horse right now is in fourth as they come down around the turn already on a day where the grass looks pretty green. It looks like they moved the rail a little bit more to the inside. So you got the 11, the 6, the 7, then the 3. Looks like the 10 is up on the rail there, followed outside by the 2 as they come around that bend down that hill. It looks like a little bit in the opener after the opening quarter in 22.23 seconds. The 11 horse continues. Pinost Little Girl to hold the lead. The 6 horse, the 10 horse is way wide, but it looks like it's got a lot of momentum. Question is, can it catch up to the 6 or the 11? I think it's going to run by both of them at the end because you got this wonderful angle at Kentucky Downs where you're not quite sure what's going on as they're heading up on the horse, although I think the 11 horse maintains the lead. It looks like that one's actually running away with the race right now. So you have the 11 followed by the 10 and then 2 maybe. 11, 10, 2 in the opener. So you get a bomb right. Well, not really. It was 5-1. Morning line on that was 8-1 on Pinho's Tail Girl. So looks like it goes 11, 10, 2 in the opener at Kentucky Downs. So hopefully, thank you, Richard. I appreciate the thumbs up. And Tom O'Malley, if like Richard and Tom O'Malley, you like what you see today by myself, or once Thomas joins us, that'll be fantastic. Thank you, Richard. We appreciate that. Still waiting for Tom, though. I told him we're going to start at 12, so that's my fault. He's probably out shopping. I know he put his picks in a little bit earlier, so hopefully soon we shall see Thomas in the window as well, so I don't have to fly solo for much longer. I did text them to let them know that that would be indeed the case. Which one of us had that 11 horse to get off to the good start? But, you know, this Kentucky Downs course, I think everybody will agree, can be a little bit tricky, for lack of a better word. All right, now we can take our time, breathe a little bit for race number 2. Race 2 is 1 mile on the turf. Of course, they're all on the turf there. The maiden race of $150,000 for maidens that are 2 years old. Again, another one of those races where just about anything can happen with the 2-year-olds. So far at a mile, the bias has favored stalkers and closers. 6% of the time they go wire to wire, so you probably don't want the front runner there. Post position is fair on the rail. 2 through 7 play a little bit above par so far at this Kentucky Downs meet. And 8 and out, there has been a big penalty. Because of all the first-time starters, it's difficult to do simulations again because we do like to do simulations, 1,000 for early speed, 1,000 for using the speed numbers to consider what fair odds might be in our own comfort zone. So we're just going to go straight to the pace of this race, the race shape setup. The 2, the 5, the 9, and the 10 are all making their first starts. So we're not quite sure what they'll bring to the table. You have the 1 and the 6 that so far haven't shown the ability to be within 5 lengths of the leader at the finish line. So maybe you can cross that pair out. Otherwise, the rest of the horses that have gotten some experience, the 8 and 12 and the 3, they want to be forwardly placed. Let's see if indeed that's where they'll be. It looks like the 12 will be over there. 13 horse, I don't think is in this race, folks. So you'll have to forgive me for not getting that one out of there. I'll delete it now. I think it's scratched out. Not 100% sure. And then you have, as far as late pace is concerned, is we're looking for the horses that want to come off the pace, although we did see the opener go wire to wire. You get the 12, the 3, the 4, and the 8. So the 12, the 3, of these horses with experience, those horses not only have some good early pace, but they also have some good late pace. On the total pace figures, the 12 horse is 13 points better than any other horse that's got experience. Should be difficult to beat if it can run to that potential. Although, again, you're not quite sure what these others are going to bring to the table. Let's go ahead and make our picks for race number 2. Thomas still hasn't joined me yet. He likes the 9, the 3, and the 6. I like the 12 horse in here. Hello, Admin 1. How are you? Race 1, 11, 10, 3. Yep, that's how it went. Only we have to predict it before the race starts. That's kind of the goal here a little bit. I like that 12 horse with that pretty substantial total pace advantage over the experienced horses. And in that race, in its debut, it was very consistent from gate to wire, not a big drop off in terms of its pace numbers throughout the race. So I think you're going to see the horse show some more endurance in its second start, and going a little bit longer should be helpful. The 9 horse, Vilvati, showed a bullet work on August the 5th, and then 4 maintenance workouts since then. Again, that angle that I'm looking forward, a lot of first-time starters, showed some really quality back workouts, and then the trainer just keeping that horse sharp, not over the edge, but just in shape and ready to go. Number 8, British Sea, gets the 3rd pick. This one tried its luck at Ellis Park in its debut, finished by a nose, almost going wire to wire. And I've noticed that a lot of Ellis Park horses have done well so far at Kentucky Downs. So maybe that form will carry over today as well. And then number 3, Thomas Aquinas, in its second career start, showed some substantial improvement. Has some pretty nice late pace as well. The only question for me is, how will this horse fare in its first race on the turf? And if you have any suggestions or picks that you like, whether it be at Kentucky Downs today or any of the other tracks running, I think all in all, there's 22 stakes races today across the country and up in Canada. So if you have any thoughts about some of the big races elsewhere, kindly let us know in the comments section. We appreciate that. Also, if you like what you see, please, you'll see down below our social sites. Follow along at Horse Race the number 2 day. Horse Race the number 2 day on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Threads, all of the above. While you're on YouTube, kindly hit the like button. And then you can also go down below. You see there is a share button. Copy that link, paste it, and then share it with all your friends on all your social sites. Let's share our thoughts for race number 3. I'm looking forward to Tom joining me at some point, hopefully soon. This one is the Aristocrats Ladies Marathon Stakes. It's a grade 3. They're going to run for a big prize here. $1 million at 1 mile and 5/16 for fillies and mares that are 3 years old and up. 1 mile and 5/16 profile of a winner. So far, there's been a handful of races. Closers have done pretty good, although one of those 5 did manage to go wire to wire. There is a strong rail advantage. So Sin Filtry should be one that could get a little bit of edge there with that post position. 2 and 3 have really been stung. Not been a good place to be so far. Posts 4 through 7 play fair. 8 and out gets a little bit of a bonus. And finally, we get a chance to do some simulations in race number 3. 1,000 simulations using speed figures, as I mentioned, to determine what fair odds are relative to, at least according to those simulations, relative to morning line odds. See a nice overlay here with the 3 horse Transient. According to our 1,000 simulations, this one should be your favorite. Anything above 1 to 2 odds does potentially show some value there. Really the only overlay in the match. And then here, 1,000 simulations using early speed figures to determine who might be where on the lead at the quarter-mile marker. Sure looks like that Sin Filtre, the 1 horse, does have a pretty good advantage over everybody else early on. But if you look at the numbers here, everybody has some chance to be up front. So maybe a little bit of a hot pace early on. C-Zone, that's something we've created on our own based upon our projected early speed numbers, how likely the horse is to find the trip to be comfortable relative to some of its better performances. So you see the 1 horse and the 4 horse really scoring well on the C-Zones. What I like here, too, with the 1 horse, does show a good C-Zone, going to be involved early on, and has some decent simulation odds. So a real good chance that horse could show up in the money here today. And Thomas has joined us. Thank you, Thomas, for
trying to save you. And sorry, I was momentarily detained.
Yeah, I think it was Rich momentarily screwed up what time we're going to start, and then that's the way that worked. And Thomas was ready to start when we were going to start, and then he got a last-minute text, "Yo, bro, I'm sorry, we're starting in 10 minutes." In any case, Tom, we went through race number 1. Race number 3 now, we're working on the race shape. Here, you see most of the horses want to be middle back. So maybe these 2 horses up front that show some early speed might actually have a little bit of a race advantage. Of those, the 1 horse definitely is the quickest out of the gate. So I wouldn't be at all like the simulation said to see the 1 horse up on the front there. If you can't hold on, and late legs are the way to score today. The 5 horse has a pretty good advantage over everybody else there, about 4 points, almost a full length, but going to be at least a length off the lead, so maybe not enough to catch up at the end. But total pace-wise, it's right there. Pretty competitive race from top to bottom, Tom. I went ahead and just told them about your picks in race number 1 and number 2. You could tell us why you picked what you picked in race number 3.
I went with 3. Transit. Strong, it's closed very strongly in a minor stakes race at Gulfstream last time out. That was on the all-weather. It's got some good efforts in the past, and with 2 wins, the layoff and the works. And was this a targeted race? And I think it was. 5 is Vergara, I guess. I don't know.
Vergara, maybe? Like Sophia Vergara? Is that
I personally think this one's the speed of the race. I would be very surprised not on the lead. She won last year here. That was in a non-graded last year. So that makes a little bit of difference. Favorite? What do you think? Yeah, I think so. 2, personal best. Very keen in its last race, was pulling, and that doesn't usually end up with good results. One at this distance and one at this track and a maiden race last year. Turf record is really good. 11 starts, 3 wins, 3 seconds, and 3 thirds. And nice work on the turf at Saratoga coming into this race.
So it sounds like you think personal best is ready to maybe put up a personal best there. And that's kind of what I'm hoping for. It is my top pick there. I've really focused on this meet on a lot of horses that have some experience there. It's paid off, some nice winners along the way in terms of their prices. So as you mentioned, the only time it ran across this track, it won with ease. It was at the same distance. This one's usually pretty good when it comes off the bench after a little R&R. Vergara did run the top last race speed figure in its last effort there, and its resume says more likely to improve than not improve in round 2 off the sidelines. Number 1, Sin Filtre. Fractions were really fast last time out, so that kind of tells me that this horse has a shot to improve. Anytime you see that they improve numbers, next race out usually looks pretty good. And then, Tom, the one you like, I have in here as well. Transient has some crazy strong turf breeding. If you look at, I use Brisnet, Tom. I don't know what you use, but when you look at Brisnet, 141 turf number, that's about as high, I think, as you'll see. That's a high class turf breeding, and does run some of its best races so far with Tyler Gaffleone. So you see here, Tyler 3rd, second by a neck, Tyler 2nd. The only time he ran on there. So a bunch of good races. Tyler seems to get the most out of this one anyway. So 2-5-1-3 for me in race number 3. Let's move on to race number 4. Thomas, race number 4, what are they running for?
Money.
They're running for Thomas's pocket change is what they're running for.
Yeah. No, I got to pull it up. I don't have it up in front of me. I'm sorry.
All right. In the meantime, I'll go.
I told you I was on the noon start.
It was my fault. I screwed you up. Allowance $160,000. That's what the purse is for. Fillies and mares 3 years old and up, which have never won a race other than their maiden, a claiming, or a starter, or it's never won 2 races, Tom. And 1 mile on the turf, as we mentioned before, the type of horse that typically gets the job done. It's on the turf. They're all on the turf. Typically, the type that gets the job done at a mile is a stalker or a closer. Only 6% have gone wire to wire. The rail is fair, so Lemon Bomb might be all right. 2 through 7 actually play above par. If you happen to catch an 8 or out so far, not been good news, Mr. Thomas. Our simulations for the 4th race show us you might find a little bit of value in the 7-horse Pocky. 4-1 morning line odds. Looks like 6-5 could be fair value. Everybody else looks like they're maybe a little overpriced. So maybe the 7 is the way to go. Tom and I both look like that's where we focused. As far as early speed is concerned, you got 3 that really look like they want to giddy up and go. Mobile's Mommy Juice and Var Malander. Outside horse might find it to be difficult with a little bit more inside speed. As far as C-Zone is concerned, a lot of horses should like the way this race takes shape in terms of how fast they're running. Should be very comfortable. And then our race shape, look at all these closers, Thomas. I see a shape like this. I want a horse that's going to be in the middle, in front of all of these closers, but still has a little bit of speed at the end of the race. So looking at the early part of the race, the 8 horse, the pressure horse, might be the one that gets out to the jump. But as we mentioned, a lot of really competitive numbers in here. Now, well, you got 3, but some still competitive numbers. Then as far as the late pace is concerned in race number 4, you're looking at the 2 horse Condone, the strongest of all of the closers, but that early pace number is going to have this one considerably 3, 4, maybe 5 lengths off the lead at the quarter-mile marker. A lot of ground to make up, a lot of horses to wiggle its way through on the inside at a risk to get shuffled. Maybe the 2 horse might have a difficult trip. Finally, our total pace does again favor that 7 horse Pocky. A little bit of a gap down to the next few horses. Really only the 9 horse not showing like it has a chance. Some of these will have to run some pretty good races. I think the 7, 6, 4, 1, and 2 might be where your winner's found. Again, I think that 2 horse could have a struggle. So I'm looking at these 4 right here. Tom, what about you?
I started out with 7, Pocky. Just missed at Gulfstream on the all-weather. The Palm Meadows work of 47-3 would tell me that's still looks probably pretty sharp.
Mm-hmm.
Never won at this distance, but has 2 places. And she's shown speed. And that's really, I think, sitting right there. Again, I would watch the bias on this track because it changes quickly, to say the least. 6, Lilac Girls next. Reasonable effort last out at 1 mile, second by 3/4 of a length. Maiden win was on the all-weather at 6 furlongs at Turf Paradise. Not Turfway, I'm sorry.
Mm-hmm.
She's been competitive in all but 1 race. So, and that was a 7.5 furlong race at Gulfstream. And she raced inside on that race, and I think that may have been a cause. But here she should get a little bit more clear running, I would hope. Workouts are only average, but she's, I think, good enough to get something here. 4, Holy Foley. Too far back. Last race as being kind. Moved up. It got 5th by 3 3/4 of a length. Yeah, it ran, but you got to get going a little before that. And this track may suit this horse a lot. Won a maiden the race before at 1 mile. Since they've added blinkers to the horse, this has really made the difference. And I just think this one needs to settle into a nice position, maybe with some cover, and get clear running, and may have a shot.
I like Pocky too. I don't know if that's a good thing or bad thing. I think all the horses we agreed on Thursday didn't do very well.
No, we were able to give people, these are not horses to play.
Yeah, we were good, fadeable picks on at least the ones. I know there was the one on the 5 horse that all of us agreed on, and then in the comment section, a couple people like the 5 too, and I just made fun of us saying, you can just X that one off because it has no chance to win. 7, Pocky did tie for the top last race. Speed figure does have a couple of nice workouts between races to keep the horse, the saw sharp. Stephen Covey says, never missed a board on the grass, 4 times out, 2 wins, a second and a third. Frontal Attack. The 11 horse is going to drop from a grade 3. It's the 3rd start after a layoff. So I'm expecting some improvement with a horse with a really strong season. We like what it's getting today, pace-wise. Lilac Girl, the 6 horse, the one you have second, really consistent performer, Thomas, with a chance to improve in the 2nd start after a layoff. And I would expect some improvement here because the horse was off for more than a year, came back, ran a good race, and then took some time off again and coming off a layoff. So I think you'll see a well-rested horse that shows that it can fit in some of that back class. And then number 1, Lemon Bob. This one had 2 consecutive speed figure increases in a row, looking to make it a trifecta in its 3rd start after a layoff. Just not a big fan of maiden claiming risers, winning races like this. I do expect it to be competitive. So the quintessential Tom horse. Is it going to win? Nah. But do you want to play it in the money? Absolutely. Race number 5, Tom. Hopefully now we are on schedule. What's going on here?
Yeah. Well, we have maidens, and they're on the turf. If you didn't know that already,
In Kentucky Downs?
3-year-olds and upwards, and just by dollars, how you get your weight. And these are some perpetual losers and some who may have some potential. You never know.
Well, from the simulation, let's see who has potential in race number 5 in this maiden race. A couple of scratches in here, the 5, and then all the horses that were outside the 12. Looking at value in here, it looks like the 15 horse had swallowed up all the value. So there's really not an overlay left in this group over here. It does look like that 2 horse, the favorite, might be a little bit overpriced. Speed wise, early speed wise, Athens Moon, probably going to assume a lot of what these guys left on the table, scratching out of the race. Got a really nice with the 7 horse in here. Your top pick, St. John's, really strong C-zone score. Should really enjoy what it's getting today on the track in terms of pace. Looking at the 5th race shape, Tom, pretty well balanced. Got a couple of first-time starters in here with the 5 horse and the 9 horse. I think the 5 horse might be scratched because he's not in my picks here. And then you have the 2, 3, and 12, which have never been within 5 lengths of the leader. So keep an eye out on what they might bring to the table. Maybe you can scratch them out. Otherwise, all the other experienced horses, pretty well balanced race in here. This one probably will favor a horse that has some in-race advantage. Early on, the 11, the 4, and the 8 should be about a length and a half ahead of the rest of the crew in here. Late speed-wise, you have the 1 horse. Though it's going to probably be, so it can make up about 2 lengths on the field, but it could be as many as 4 back. Might have a difficult time closing all of that ground. Maybe one that can mix its way up into the end there. Total pace, our good friend Chris Parmalu loves this. The 8 horse in here, the front runner, does have some decent late pace, about 7 points better than the next horse. So maybe a good shot to get the graduation hat today. Tom, what do you think?
I did go with the aforementioned 7, St. John's. Really, since moving the turf, this horse has improved a lot, and has really improved those last 2 races. Running 3rd, coming from far back, then it ran 2nd, got even a little closer to the pace. So it may be more versatile than we think. I think the cutback and distance may be just what it needs to win. 4 is Solomon Vandy, my next choice. Hasn't raced since March at the fairgrounds, has some okay works. The mile distance appears to suit him because he's mainly been in the 1 turn rather than 2 turns. He did try the dirt at 1 mile at Churchill. That's a 1 turn and didn't do very well, but may not like the dirt. So I think the shorter distance on the turf, it makes it interesting to play. And finally, I'm going to take number 9, Auden. Well-bred, to say the least, first-timer, owned by Judgmont. Yeah, they own a few horses that are decent. Workouts look good on the dirt. It's Mott and Rosario, 9-2. That's the thing that made me think, ooh, somebody must know something.
Mm-hmm. So I'm going to go with the 2 horse. When you look at its last race, 2 horse in here coming out, all of these numbers here are better than all of these numbers here. So the horses definitely showed better in that July race. Does have some decent workouts getting prepped down here. I do like this bullet workout back here on July the 23rd, followed by the 4 maintenance workouts or the 3 maintenance workouts. Maybe this horse can live up to its potential. Switching to Irad Ortiz, probably helpful in this spot. Number 8, Athens Moon. It's my second choice. In its first race, it did show some really big early pace numbers. Second start, it showed some pretty big late pace numbers. So if you can put the 2 together here, the first race and the second race, and connect the front to the back, could be very difficult to beat. Auden, I'm going to give the Bill Mott, first-time starter like you, a shot here. Decent back works as well, but not what I like to see, like really fast and then followed up by maintenance works, but good enough to hint at some talent. And then finally, the 7 horse, your first pick, my 4th pick. The last 2 races since switching from dirt, I think could be good enough, Tom, to get the race here, get the graduation gift. let's go off to our next race, and that's race number 6. This is a long card today, Tom. 12 races. I thought it was going to be 10 when we first did it, and a lot of them at the back end are stakes races. So I think they'll last 4 or 5 months.
They saved the best for last.
Mm-hmm.
Optional claimer, 62.5. These are for non-winners of 2 other than, or non-winners of 3, or you be in for the tag. It's a mile and 5/16, and we've had a few of those types of races. So what are the stats?
Well, one quick thing you'll see right here, there's no number here in case you're new to horse racing. You want to know if the horse is in for optional claiming price. If it were, there would be a number there. And there you go. See, so if you wanted to, if you had Terry's pockets, you can go buy the 3 horse today out at Punch Hard at Kentucky Downs. Unfortunately, I don't have those pockets. I'm a hot dog player all the way around, Mr. Thomas. But at a mile and 5/16, as you mentioned some stats, there's been a handful of races. Closers have done the best, although one of those 5 did get to the lead and did not give it up. The rail has had a strong advantage. Maybe that's why Eldon's Prince is not available for sale today. Post 2 and 3 have really gotten smacked around. 4 through 7 have played fair. Again, if you catch the 8 or out, you get a little bit of extra juice as well. Legal juice, not the other kind of juice that some people are rumored to use on Twitter. Our simulation says if you're looking for value, look at that 1 horse on the rail, Tom. 20-1 morning line says that you can go down to 7-2 perhaps and get some fair value. So maybe a long shot to keep an eye out in race number 6. And then anybody else in here showing any value? Not really. As far as early speed, the 10 horse Balladeer, really strong chance to get the lead. With the 13 scratching out, I'm going to say that's a very likely that one's going to be your pace setter. And this 1 horse too, with this strong C-zone score, with this overlay, definitely one that I would consider on the back end of your exactas, trifectas, maybe even a bomb that has a shot to win. You got the 2 horse, the 4 horse also scoring well with the 10 horse. Get another combination here, early speed. Comfortable with that early speed. The 10 might be one that gets to the lead and has a shot to go wire to wire, according to our simulations, and be happy and comfortable up there. In the 6th race, our early speed front numbers show that, again, a race that's backloaded, horses that want to be middle back, so maybe a little bit of an edge to the horses that want to be forwardly placed. If we're looking for that speed horse, I think we're going to find, much like the simulation said, the 10 horse, 8 points better. So maybe a length and a half, up to 2 lengths better or quicker than the next closest horse. The rest of them are all kind of bunched up there. So you'll see the 10 and probably a glob of horses when the gates open, provided everything goes according to plan. And then late speed, Corelli. This one has a really 100. When you get to 100, that's stakes material stuff. 67 up front is not. But if it can show, it might not be that far off the pace because not a lot of others in here really have a lot of speed. So it may end up being middle pack instead of way back. And then your total pace goes to the 12 horse. Command Performance, stolen base. So you have that lone EP horse and the lone 4 in here. Looks like of the 2 that are unlike any others, the 12 might be one that you want to keep an eye on. Those lone EPs and lone PCs, they can be very dangerous, Tom. What do you have in race 6?
Starting with number 4, Dripping Gold is my top choice. 3 runs basically at this level. They were on the New York circuit, got a 3rd, a 4th, and a 3rd. Ran last year here at Kentucky Downs and was in a grade 3 race at this distance. I think the horse was used too early in the last race. So I think with a little more honest pace and a little better timing, so that the clock in the head of the jockey will make much better results this time around. Number 9, Sharara is my next choice. Has been racing in stakes races since coming from Dubai and not doing very well. So let's drop it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Optional claimer, good, more distance. It's won at a mile and a quarter in Dubai, so I don't think distance is an issue. It wanted a handicap and a big money allowance race in Dubai. I think this is a better race for it than those stakes that it's tried and failed miserably. And finally, I'm going to take the old guy, Henley's Joy, number 7.
Yeah, we have to support the old guys, Tom.
Yeah, Signs of Life, I thought last time at Colonial ran fourth. Was working on the inside to get in there. I mean, this is an old class horse. He's won over $1 million on the turf. That's not shabby. He hasn't won a race in 2 years though, but he did win in the past at this track. So I think he's good enough for a placing, and I'm certainly wouldn't be surprised to see him hit the board off that last race.
He's going to reach into the bag and reach into his past and live up to Bruce Springsteen's glory days. I'm going to start with the 11 horse, the one that had that significant late pace advantage over everybody else in here. And the reason is last time out, I know you saw those early pace numbers on the score there were way off pace, but last time out on that 11 horse did show a little bit more interest getting out of the gates. So a little bit more improvement, and you can see all that really strong late pace numbers there. So if it's more interested out of the gate today, as it was in its last race, that late pace edge should take over the race at the end, bring that horse to the finish line first, in my opinion. I'm going to go with the Henley's Joy as well. The old timer has a second in a pair at Kentucky Downs, coming off his best recent performance, Tom. I think you noted that, and does have a trio of maintenance workouts in between. So perhaps going to find some old form again today. Dripping Gold, stronger through the first half mile of its last race, and then made a really powerful mid-move, expecting more late stamina out of the 4-horse Dripping Gold today. And again, if you watch our Horse Center shows, we had on Craig Milkowski from Timeform US, and he mentioned that one of the things they found when analyzing their data is if you look at the early pace and mid-pace numbers, if there's improvement from the prior start, the next race out, those horses tend to fire. And that's what we see with Dripping Gold. And then finally, that 10-horse Balladeer. This one's going to come in from Del Mar today, upped its speed figure 4 races in a row, making its third start after a layoff. Again, referring back to Barry Meadows in his book, The Skeptical Handicapper, one that I strongly encourage you get. You'll find out that the 3 or 4 speed figure increases in a row is an angle that wins at 15% or more, something I deem an alpha angle. Does look like we're going to have a scratch here in the race.
Yeah, the 10's going
10
to
horse.
be taken out, yeah.
Melee is not going to be in, and neither one of us have it in our pick, so it's not going to affect us at all. So we got a little bit of time. It looks like now extra time while they rearrange the gates. So let's go ahead and see if we can power our way through race number 7. Thomas, what's cooking here?
You'll never guess what we have. We're on a turf.
Well, that would have got right.
Maidens, 1 mile. Fillies and mares. They're 3-year-olds and upwards, and the weight is determined by age. And there's some lightly raced ones, and then there's some not so lightly raced ones.
If you are
field, though,
if you are a veteran here and you have not hit the like button or followed us on the subscribe side, please make sure you do that on YouTube. Hit the subscribe button, hit the bell. And if you are a first timer with us, kindly do the same thing, Thomas. Nice segue there. It's not even planned. Impromptu all the way across the board. In race number 7, as we look at the simulations again, we do find Holagata is a overlay there, 3-5, 7-2 morning line favorite, with probably about an 8-5, 7-5 type line that's fair value in there. The Roan Runner, a little bit of value, maybe shaving off a point there in terms of its, or at least fairly priced in terms of its morning line odds. Heartstruck, 12-1 morning line, maybe closer to 9-1. Maybe a long shot that you want to play, especially since it has some early speed in here. Heartstruck should be your pace setter at the quarter-mile marker. We'll see if indeed pace can continue to hold on like it did in the opener. As far as the C-zone is concerned, only got a couple over 50%. Noble Bernadette. No, that's not nuts. Le Boy. Come on. Never mind. I know what I want to say, but it's just not coming out right. The 2-horse.
Well, it's coming out, but
yeah, not right. And the Roan Runner, those 2 coming out in there. It looks like the 12-horse is scratched in here. The Blessing of the Flag. Is that right? In race number 7. Why would I have that as my pick in there? And then let me just make sure I can correct that in race number 7. No, the 12-horse is not scratched. So that's just a mistake on my part.
Going.
Yeah.
So it's just the A's that were taken out.
Yeah, I just screwed that up altogether, Thomas. That's all. In a rush to get those things done at the end. That's what it worked out to be. All
We're
right.
heading for the gate now.
Yeah, I'll just real quickly run through this and then we'll come back. Here you see again a race shape that favors the horses up front. Most everybody wants to be middle back. If that 11 horse has that early speed, Thomas, look out. Could be one that you have to really run down. Might not be on the lead. A couple of other horses showing a little bit better. We'll skip right to the total pace. Heartstruck, My Lily May, and Mom's Right. Mom's always right, folks, and she'll let you know about that. Those are your top total pace horses. After race number 2, we'll come back to talk about our picks. In race number 2, Tom likes the 9, the 3, the 6. I got the 12, the 9, the 8, and the 3. Right now, the bettors like the 7 horse, Tom. It is your favorite at 3-1. And if you look across our picks,
it's the 8 horse.
That's the 8 horse?
Yeah, it's 3-1.
No, that's the 7, King Secret.
Oh, okay.
Am I on the right race? Oh, hold on. I'm not
No,
on
I
the right
think you're in
race.
the wrong race.
There we go. Race number 2. Yes, indeed. The 8 horse. British Sea, 3-1 is your favorite. Kind of lukewarmish in there. So they go.
This is a good betting. This is a good betting race.
It is indeed. So right now the 3 horses on the lead with the 12 horse to its outside. You have the 8 horse British Sea, the 4 horse in the mix as well, Durbas. Outside that is the 5 horse hanging in there. Then the 7 horse Hawks Creek at 20-1. Maybe you should have bet that one when I misspoke. And the rail, the 2 horse Uncle Truly right in the mix there, followed by Gotta Have Dreams, the 1 horse in the back of the pack, Vivaldi and Fort Thomas. They come down the stretch heading into that turn right there, Thomas. The 12 horse has inched its way to the front. Double your money. That's Terry saying. Where else can you double your money in about a minute and a half? Opening half in 48 and 8. So not the quickest pace in there. For
moderate.
Yeah. So then the horses up front should have a shot to stay up on the front. To the outside of the 12 horse, you have, it looks like the 8 horse. The 3 horse continues to fight along on the rail as they come down the stretch, headed for that just god-awful angle in just a moment, because you know that's coming. We have no idea who's doing what, because when they shift to that, it sure looks like the horse that's on the lead is never going to lose. In this case, the 12 horse is on the lead. The 3 horses to the outside trying to make up ground as they shift up the hill, Thomas. I don't think he's going to get it done. The question is, does the 2 horse screw that horse up at the wire? Although the 3 horse is making up ground, going to make it close at the wire. Boom. I don't know, Tom. What do you think? Is it Thomas Aquinas or is it double your money?
I'm going to go with Thomas Aquinas.
You think the 3 horse got him?
Yeah, I think so.
Did make up some ground late there. So either way, I'm probably happier with the exacta box using my 4 picks with the 3 up there as your winner. Went off at 8-1. Morning line there was 12-1. The 12 horse went off at 5-2, and it was 7-2. Can he stay? But one thing we've noticed in the first couple of races, Tom, I don't know. It's going to be close. I think the 3's head was up. I'm going to give the bob to the 12. We'll find out in a second.
Yeah. And further review, I'll go with 12.
Yeah. Well, we'll see. I'm hoping 2 the 3 horse got it in there, but still to have in these big races, a couple of them in there with the 3 horse, your second pick. I should have moved them up my rankings a little bit, Thomas. All right. So race number 2 is in the books. What's not in the books are our picks for race number 7, Tom. So you almost got the 3 horse in race number 2. Are you going to get the 3 horse in race number 7?
I took it. First time Lasix. Not raced much last year. One was here at Kentucky Downs. Workouts are good. I got 2 bullet works coming into this race. I like that. I'm looking at my angle of maturity. Sometimes these horses need a little, grow up before they start doing something good. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to take a chance on coming off the layoff with good odds, and those works suggest it's maybe ready to run a nice race. 11, the Roan Funner.
The Roan Runner instead of the Road.
I like Funner better, but
well, it could be.
Switched to the turf last time out, and it made all the difference. Ran second, lost by length. Another horse with bullet works, suggesting another big effort up. The morning line makes no sense to me at 15-1. Considering it went off at 5-1 last time,
Mm-hmm.
and that was the first time on there, so doesn't make any sense. Oh well. Finally, I'm going to take 2 LeBeau. My final choice. Hasn't raced since March. And it ran a 7.5 furlong race. Got caught at the end, losing by a head. I'm going to go with that speed a little bit maybe here. Ran an okay third on the turf. Then it moved and back and forth. Never in that race. It never really made any ground up. So it's just kind of an even effort. Works are average. But if it comes back anywhere near its last race, I think that this one will be competitive, and I think it may take that lead.
LeBeau. I still can't get it right. What the hell's going on today? A little bit of mental jam, I guess. It does look like they're putting a 12 up top. I thought as long as it took to put one horse over the other, that there was a shot that we were going to get a dead heat. But it does look like they have 12 and then the 3 and then the 2 and then the 4. 12, 3, 2, 4 in the opener, in the second race there. And speed staying up front on both races so far, Tom. So maybe we should slant our picks a little bit more towards speed. In the 7th race, if you're looking for speed, it looks like that's going to be the 5-horse Heartstruck. Maybe a little bit of a price in there. I have the 12-horse Blessing the Flag. Maybe I'll get another 12-horse winner in here. Has run over the Kentucky Downs course, had a third, and is one of those horses that just consistently puts out one good race after the other. Not my favorite to bet on, but it's kind of horse that the other ones have to beat because you're going to get an honest effort. The Roan Funner, we'll rename this horse today, Tom, in your honor. Did run the top last race speed figure, and that was the first time the horse tried to run on turf, and does have, as you mentioned, a few bullet workouts. Maybe trying to tell the owners and the trainers, yes, put me on the turf and I will perform for you. Number 5, Hola Gata. Did run some better fractions last time out, and it is our good friend Christopher Parmalou's favorite betting angle, a horse that is in the maiden ranks that finished second last time out. Just has to beat one horse today, and that second was just by a neck, so not a whole lot of extra ground to make up today. And then finally, Heartstruck was decently bet in a pretty solid debut. Has some okay works between races. Going to be better, I think, in its second try, and if speed holds up, we do have that speed. We do have a little overlay according to our simulations. So maybe the 5 gets to the front and holds on at a nose like the 12-horse did to the 3-horse in race number 2. Tom, in race number 8, they're going to run for money, Tom. I think this is the beginning of the stakes race run. So what's happening in race 8?
It is. It's the Franklin Simpson and stake, and we're going 6.5 furlongs. It is a grade 2, and they're running for a mere $1 million.
We have to get a race. We have to get Simpson and Franklin to sponsor us for the Horse Racing Today $1 million stakes race, and we'll all run. We'll all dead heat for first and last, Tom. In the 8th race at 6.5 furlongs, they don't run too many of these at this track. At least they haven't so far. Some tactical speed does well 31% of the time. They go wire to wire. So that's a pretty good number. The rail gets a little bit of a bonus. So Frosted Departure could run better than those 12-1 odds from that rail edge. 2 and 3, again, getting a little bit dinged. Not the most comfortable place to be. 4 through 7, they play a little bit above par. 8 and out is fair. So probably the only place that you don't want to be is post 2 or 3, Tom. Everything else, you probably have a shot. You're not going to get hurt by your post position. You have all the also eligibles or additional entries. They're out of this race. Looking for some value. Private Creed looks like it's fair value to me. Sweet Cherry Pie, a little bit better than 5-1, so maybe 9-2, a little bit shave off from there. Everybody else looks like maybe you're paying up for them. Early speed wise, Sweet Cherry Pie and Two of a Kind, they're the ones that are likely to set the tone when the gates open, although they might have a little bit of a difficult time because there is some inside speed to clear, so they might have to hustle a little more than they want to get to that positioning. As far as C-zone scores, really nobody scoring all that high, so this could be a race that's a little uncomfortable for everybody. Could be one of those races where the race shape really makes a big difference. And this is pretty well balanced, although most of your horses want to be middle forward. So you could see a little bit of probably a little bit quicker pace than maybe these guys want to run, which could open it up for your PC and your closing types to 6, 8, 2, and 11. If speed does continue to hold here, Mansour, Coco, and what you can see here, like I said, this is a race that has a shot to get really hot because everybody except behind enemy lines does have the ability perhaps to contend early on. So that's going to open it up to horses with a little bit of late speed behind enemy lines, although maybe a little too far off the pace. Playlist looks like it could get an excellent trip sitting right where it wants as a PC type. Let all these guys go fast, take advantage of those late legs, and perhaps use its top total pace number to get into the winner's circle. And again, pretty competitive down to about here, Tom. So a lot of green horses in here. The first stakes race looks like a lot of ways to go. Which way did you go?
Took number 11. Close the Game, Sugar. Has only raced 3 times. Has 2 wins at Saratoga and a second at Presque Isle. Every effort that it's run, I've been very game. Fast works at Presque Isle for this race. I'm going to be flying right at the end without question, and certainly can. Looks like it's pretty versatile, so we'll see what it can do. 8, Mustache can be next choice. Drops back in distance off the last 6 races. Pretty much interesting. They're dropping that in the distance. Likes to be forwardly placed, and sometimes it has the lead. Ran this distance last year, and it went off the favorite and finished 4th.
Before you move off to your next horse, Tom, have you ever watched Impractical Jokers?
Yes.
And in the mustache, hey mustache, you ever seen that one where the guy gets mad?
I didn't see that one.
Yeah, the guy gets pretty mad, and they always have if someone has a mustache, one of the things is you got to try to touch it. Always makes me kind of crack up. If you had a mustache and some stranger tried to come up and touch your mustache, would you let him?
No.
All right, on to your picks.
Okay. I'm going to toss the last race for Mustache out. It was great at company. I just think he's going to run better with a shorter distance, and the workouts kind of suggest that he's going to be on the lead, and he may like the lead all the way. Number 6, Playlist, will be my final choice, and it's won the last 3 races, going from maiden to allowance to optional claimer, so definitely stepping up in class here. It's run this distance before, but we are adding it. I did run it at Santa Anita. I'm going to put him in the money. I'm not with its debut in this at this level. I think I'm a little bit leery of putting it on top.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the total pace put it on top. I'm going to go with Private Creed, the 2-horse top selection for me. Did run at Kentucky Downs, did win that race. Good shot to be an improved horse in the second start after a layoff. A couple of Stephen Covey workouts to keep the saw sharp in between races. Number 11, the one you like is your first pick. I'll put in there second. Closed the game, Sugar, and Sugar O'Malley did close the game really nicely against Aljamain Sterling. If you watch some UFC, that was one of the nicest counter rights I've ever seen. But as far as the horse is concerned, every single race this horse has gotten better and better and better. And last time out, its race internals were also better across the board. So early pace, mid pace, late pace. And that late pace was really powerful. So I think you're going to see a complete race from Close the Game, Sugar. Number 7, Sweet Cherry Pie, warrants consideration in its first grass race, Thomas, after a dominant race in the slop. And a lot of times when horses are making their first start on turf, look at the all-weather. If they haven't run an all-weather, look at how they've run on a wet dirt track as an indication of what they might do on turf. And then finally, Playlist did win 3 in a row. Tends to make significant mid-race moves, which works out well, especially on a track like this, coming out of a big sweeping turn, build that momentum for the finish line. So 2, 11, 7, 6 in race number 8. Race number 9 is yet another stakes race, Tom. They're running for a lot of money here, too.
They sure are. Big bucks. That's this track. They never give they're not, you don't see $5,000 claimers here. This is a ladies' turf race. It's a grade 3. I'm going 1 mile. And again, they're going for that paltry sum of $1 million.
Maybe if we bought a maiden claiming 5, we can find a field with 5 horses in it and put it in there, Tom, and see if we could run 4th. Even the 5th place money would work out pretty well. I would.
Yeah, well, 6th place would work out.
Yeah, so we should look for that as an investment strategy going forward. All right, the 9th race in terms of our value, White Frost, which is your favorite, 9-5 morning line, looking like it should be maybe closer to 1-1. And yeah, we're both very confident. We put that one in the back of our picks there. Everybody else is a little bit of an overlay. Regal Realm, the 1 horse, getting fair value. Punch of inside speed there, Tom, with 1, 2, 3, and 4. So a lot of giddy up and go when the gates open. That could favor in a 7-horse field, one that wants to come off the pace. As far as the ones that want to be up on the front, the 2 and the 1, they're going to be the most comfortable setting the tone. The 3 and 4 might not like being up there. And then Henrietta Top Fam looks like that's the one that has maybe some closing ability with the strongest or one of the strongest C zones to bring the score home. Let's see if the race shape also agrees with that. Well, kind of a little different tone in this one. You see the 1 horse over here that wants to be forwardly placed. The 2, the 3, and the 5, they're very versatile because these horses, the PCs, the EPs can either pilot or co-pilot. The PCs really can be anywhere on the track. Sometimes they go wire to wire. Sometimes they can come from the middle. They can come from the back. As far as early speed does go, the 1 horse and the 2 horse, the 3 horse and the 4 horse, just like the simulation showed, going to be up front there. Although it does look like the inside 2 are a little quicker than the other 2 in the middle. Late speed, Henrietta Topham, again, we talked about in the simulation with that strong C zone, could be very comfortable with everybody else up in front of them. Quite frankly, really won't be all that far off the pace, maybe 2.5 lengths. And then when you look at the total pace, this race is really close, only 9 points separating the top to the bottom. Because it's a thinner field than some of these deep fields here, I still would probably want to be middle of the pack forward in this race when it gets started, Tom. Who's going to be at the finish line when it's over?
2, Haggerty. Last race, 3 races have been good results, but hasn't won yet. I think she's sitting on a big effort, and this could be the race. She's only won 1 race. It was at this distance. There's another race she won, but she was DQ'd. I think this time around, she's going to be on top. 7, New Year's Eve is my next choice. This is a cloud horse. It was 8 1/4 lengths behind last time out, and then rallied 4 wide, and looked pretty good doing it. She got an effort at Belmont at this distance and in a grade 1. My problem was she hit the gate coming out, and she never recovered.
Not the best idea.
No, it doesn't happen. I think even with the size of this field, I think there's some pace to run at, and I think this one will close strongly. And finally, I will take the favorite, White Frost. She has 1 win in 4 seconds and 1/3 this season. She has a win only against optional claimers at Gulfstream. She's been running at various distances up to 1.16 miles, and they've been in top company. It's great. It's either stakes or graded level types. Good workouts coming in. Favorite, yeah. I still think there are other horses that are better than she in this race, and that's why I have her on 3rd.
A vulnerable favorite. I'm going to start a horse here, a little bit of a price, 15-1 morning line. Carabin Dorada. Another one of those horses that in its last race, all of the race internals were an improvement over the prior start. Very close late in that race, despite a little bit of maybe a funky start. Its CV says to expect more in round 2 off the bench. And this one does have a little bit of Kentucky Downs experience. And when it ran there, it won. New Year's Eve, that 7-horse Tom, it just runs one good race after another, after another, after another. As you mentioned, does like to come from off the pace here. It just seems to be that more often than not, it just falls a little bit short at the end. But at its best, can make up that ground and get to the winner's circle. Henrietta Topham, he's had some in-race troubles last time out. still managed to gain a ton of ground towards the end of the race. So if it can get a clean trip in a short field, I think that might be all that's needed. And then the favorite, White Frost, probably deservedly the favorite, especially at a mile. It's run a mile 5 times, got a couple of wins, a trio of seconds. So in the money, 100% first or second, and really strong through the first half mile. Last out, again, that's an indication of perhaps an improved performance here today in this stakes race for $1 million at Colonial Downs, at Kentucky Downs. Race number 10, Tom, as we continue on our streak of $1 million stakes races.
We are. This is a turf sprint. It's a grade 2 race, and we're going 6 furlongs.
For 6 furlongs, again, one that they don't really run that often. There are only 2 races so far at the current meet, so really not a lot of data to put your hat on there. Tactical speed is done okay, so middle of the pack. None went wire to wire of those 2. All the winners coming from 4 and out, so maybe a little bit outside, a little bit of early tempo in race number 10. You got a 5 and the 8 Nobles. Our friend Larry Ravelli's horse going to run at Colonial Downs today. I think that's perhaps why
he scratched the other one.
He scratched in both races?
No, he scratched the other. He had 2 entries in here.
Well, Nobles is entered
Nobles
in 2 places today.
Yeah, he took him out to leave just one timer in.
Yeah, I think he's running in Colonial Downs in another race today. But anyhow, looking at the early speed here, Tom, Nobles was going to be a part of that early pace, but it looks like one timer now. It's going to be the one that they all have to catch, although Noble Reflection should be right in that mix too early on. And speaking of Noble Reflection, look at that overlay, Tom. 15-1 morning line odds, according to our 1,000 simulations using speed figures. This one might be worthy of 2-1 odds. Could even be the favorite. Didn't make it to any of our picks. Maybe something we will regret later on. Also, front run the Fed, 12-1 morning line. Looks like maybe 9-2, a little bit fairer odds. Olympic Runner, man, I remember that horse. That's a pretty good horse. 15-1 morning line odds. Looks like closer to 8-1 could fit in. So maybe a race where you want to lean away from the favorites and towards a little bit of the value. Cogburn, really strong C-zone score, along with Dream Shake, another strong C-zone score. A lot of different ways to look at that race. We're going to look at it this way. Again, you got this triangle that comes down like this. So that tells me that you probably want to be middle forward here because most of the horses want to be middle back. If you're a front runner with the ability to go wire to wire, one timer, Noble Reflection, again, reflecting what we saw in the simulations, that's a pretty good number. When you start breaching 100, that's stakes caliber material stuff. So you got 4 of them, though, that are really going to put them up and put them down. All of them up in here in this group right here. So they got to be careful not to burn each other. If they do, if you're looking for some late speed, Cogburn right up there, although not the strongest numbers you're going to see, and really not all that far off what some of the slower horses in the end look like. So I would really want to be, based upon what we see with pace figures, race shape, somewhere in the middle to the front of this race. And then our total pace does favor the one-timer there, 5 points better than the next horse. Again, looking pretty competitive down through here, Tom. Say maybe down to the 2 horse in there. What do you see?
No, I see the 7. Cogburn is the top choice, undefeated on the turf. Comes off the pace a bit. There should be plenty to run this fast race. There's one on the dirt, maiden allowance race. Tried graded company on the dirt, and it did not go very well. But he's on the turf, and he's game, and I think he gets his first graded stakes win here. Number 3, Olympic Runner is my next choice. Last year, this horse ran 2 races, absolutely nothing, and they put it away. This year, it's a completely different horse because it's only been out of the money once. Steps up in company, but been rolling along nicely, and I think you really got to consider this one. And finally, I will take the speed from the inside, number 1, one-timer. One last time out, basically with the leader, moved up and went past it like it was standing still. Turf record, 7 starts, 4 wins, a second and a third. I think it's the speed. And we'll see another one of our old guys, E.T. Baird. He's been
Mm-hmm.
around a million years, I
Well,
think.
you got to root for the local Illinois guy, right? Especially
Yeah,
since they
he's
closed.
been around for me. Well, I remember his father when he rode and trained. I didn't see him ride, but I saw him. He was training,
Hmm.
and yeah, he's won a few races in his life.
Yeah, for sure. He's been around forever, like you said. One timer is my pick in here. 1-for-1 at Kentucky Downs. And the last time this horse ran, it ran much quicker fractions. I like to see that. Again, a horse I feel like is going to be better in this race. Bad Beat Brian, the 4-horse. I almost feel like you should never name anything related to gambling bad beats. It's almost like you're foreshadowing, you're speaking into existence, manifesting a bad beat. But anyway, this one has run a couple of times at Kentucky Downs, did finish first in one, second in the other. And this was a horse whose resume says it should be at least as good as it was in the last race, but probably better in the second up. Cogburn, your top pick in here, Tom. You mentioned it. The horse has been on grass 3 times after switching from dirt. Nobody's beat it yet on there. And not only has nobody beaten it, but it does look like Cogburn continues to improve on its liked new surface. Then finally, number 9, Gear Jockey. I'm going to take a bomb in here, Thomas. The 9-horse. This one went at Kentucky Downs 1 time, and it won that race. And
it was a bomb that day too.
Yeah, so we'll go with bomb. We'll go with a bomb double with that one. But if you look at some of its workouts lately, they've been some of its best workouts in all the published stuff. So maybe this is one of those horses. I was reading in a book I don't have it in front of me here, or I have it down here. Excuse me. It's called Thoroughbred Cycles. Again, another interesting book. Don't know if you've read this one, Thomas, by Mark Kramer. But he talks about some interesting things about there's like this one type of horse in there that just doesn't show anything. Then all of a sudden it wins or runs a good race. It finds its form, and that how those horses tend to hold their form for maybe 2-3 races, and they go right back to being where they were before. So let's just see if maybe reading this book was a precursor to what we'll see with Gear Jockey, kind of like a hint to keep an eye out for that one, that at least running style. Number 11, 2 more races to go. The first leg of the late daily double. Again, they're going to run for a little bit of change here. Another $1 million. What else is going on?
Well, we're going to add that half a furlong this time around. We'll go 6.5. This is the ladies sprint. It's a grade 2. And they're running for some decent money again. And I think this is one of the harder races.
You had a hard time with this one?
Yeah, it required a little more creative thinking.
Well, hopefully creative thinking finds its way to a creative winning ticket. So far, the winning ticket at 6.5 furlongs has been Tactical Speed. A good chance to go wire to wire. Probably the best chance is 6.5 furlongs because 31% of the time, that's what happens. You do get a rail bonus. So Fast and Feminine could outrun those 30-1 odds for TC Stevens. 2 and 3, they're getting squeezed, Thomas. 4 through 7, a little bit better than par. 8 and out is fair. So it looks to me, just don't pick a horse with the number 2 or 3 as your top pick. Maybe you'll be all right. In race number 11, you're looking at some early speed. Train to Artemis. That one really looks like it's going to be your pace setter. And again, 31% chance to go wire to wire. So maybe one that you want to put on your ticket just on that angle alone. Looking for some value. Quora Comet, 5-1 morning line odds, maybe closer to 3-1. Wakanaka, 4-1. Looks like maybe 7-2. And then the 7-horse, Our Flash Drive, 10-1. Maybe closer to 5-2 fair value in there. We both have the 7 in our back end, so we see some value in that one as well, Thomas. C-Zone scorers, quite a bunch of dark green horses in here. So many of them should be very comfortable with the pace in this race, should very, very much mirror some of their better performances. Race number 11, the race shape, Tom, nobody wants to be on the front. They all want to either pressure or close. So I'd expect one of this handful here to actually get to the lead. Looking at that, you do see the Train to Armistice, the one that we saw in the simulations, scoring out 4 points better than the next. Again, pretty tight bunched in here, especially from here on up. So maybe as many as 5 of them, even though it doesn't look like they want to get the lead, are going to go forward. I would expect, since none of them really want to jump out to the front, they prefer to all be patient. We might see a race here with some pretty moderate fractions. And if that's the case, I don't know how much late speed's going to be helpful. I would probably really want the ones that are forwardly placed. But the 3 horse, the 6 horse, so of the front runners, Bay Storm does have the best late pace in here. So maybe that horse, if they run some decent fractions, could be difficult to pass. Does grade out as your top total pace horse. And again, you got 4 or 5 of them in here that are pretty close to each other, Tom. You said it was the hardest one for you to break down. How did you do it?
And the reason was because it was, I thought, a paceless race. So trying to figure out who's going to be in the front was my biggest challenge. So with that in mind, and that I think they're going to be pretty bunched up, I took number 3, Wakanaga, as my top choice. Good run last time out in a grade 3 in the Caress at Saratoga, but it was a bit wide. She had 4 races this season. They've all been in graded stakes company. And the last race she ran was the shortest distance she's run this season. So maybe they're thinking this makes more sense. Workouts indicate to me that she's ready to put in a nice winning effort here. Number 2, Quadric Comet, my next choice. Just missed last out in this preview race, and we've already talked about the one-timer was in the male version. She was in the female version of that race. And this first attempt at graded stakes company, but her record is really good on the turf. 4 wins, 3 seconds, and a third. So you got to think it's going to be interesting. And she's had good efforts on the turf. She's had good efforts on the all-weather. So interesting. Finally, I'm going to take number 7. Our Flash Drive is my final choice. 2 winning efforts at Woodbine on the all-weather, and then the turf. So shipped to Saratoga. Let's just say it didn't get out of the starting gate very well, and that really was the end of its race. She's got 7 wins from 17 starts on the turf. So this is one that's gotten better as she's gotten older. And I think she prefers that sprinting, and because they ran her longer in her past, but the sprinting seems to be much more in her wheelhouse. She has won graded stakes races, so in the distance is to her liking. So gotta watch. I think and she's gonna be around somewhere in this running in this race.
Some good value there. Christopher D'Souza, what's up? My friend Race 11 likes the 5 horse, one that neither one of us have, Tom. So
nope, of course.
We better run for cover, my friend, and put it in there our picks. I'm going to add the 5 to my picks in there because Christopher's usually pretty spot on, likes those long shots and hits a lot of them too. So that's the best way to end up with a positive return on investment is to hit some price horses. I like the 6 horse in here, Bay Storm. That's the morning. I don't know what I did right there, but I'll undo that. Is the morning line favorite in here. Did run faster fractions last time out. Its record says that in the second start after a layoff, it should be even faster today. Quaria Comet, the 2 horse, gets my second selection. Did run at Kentucky Downs. Did win that race in Kentucky Downs. Did improve a lot through the first half mile of its last race. And did put in a couple of nice maintenance workouts between races. Trained to Armistice, that 4 horse, going to be involved from the beginning of the race, as you can see on our pace, as well as our simulation. And this one, should make a really strong mid-move in there, Tom, too. That's really kind of been its MO. So if it can get off to the front, maybe run, modest fractions like we think based upon the race shape, and then take advantage of that real powerful mid-move it tends to make, it could open up a little bit of a gap to see if it has the legs to maybe ascend that final little hill, get to the finish line first. And then our Flash Drive, that value horse in there, the 10-1 morning line where the simulation says 5-2 is probably fairer odds, absolutely has the back class for this time, as you mentioned. And if you take a look through the past performances, many of its better races have come out of the barn, fresh runs after a little R&R, and that's what we're going to get here today from our Flash Drive. Let's see. Race number 3 is coming up. Yeah, they're loading up into the gate. So let's go ahead and talk about race number 3.
They're almost ready to go.
So Tom likes the 3 here. I got the 2 here, personal best. The folks on the ground in race number 3, I think personal best is the one to beat. And the 5 horse, Sofia Vergara, is your second choice according to the better. So I'm a little bit chalky on this one. They started out, and it looks like the 5 horse and the 6 horse, those two are going to venture their way to the lead. And the 6 horse, they just let that one get out there all by itself. Glenall, Tom. No one really fought for the lead. Though I think that horse is running a little rank, don't you think? Its head's kind of popping up and down.
It looks like it's a little too keen.
Mm-hmm. Then the 5 horse is sitting right behind that one. A little bit of a gap to the 1 horse. And then everybody else after that group is kind of bunched up. The 2 horse on the rail. The 4 horse is in between Lady Rockstar. The 3 horse trailing the field right now. Although that opening quarter, Tom, is kind of slow, 26 and 12.
Yeah, well, we're going 1 mile and 5/16, so that would make sense.
Yeah, it does make sense. Still, not often you see them run 26. They are still the 6 horse. They don't really change order very much.
Well,
the 6
remember,
horse
you got
remains
that sharp, weird little turn that they have to negotiate when that turn, and you can see them. I don't know if you noticed, the guy on the 6 horse had to look back to make sure he wasn't going to check into somebody because he was a little wide.
And then the 6 horse continues to hold the lead, although I do think the horse looks like it's working kind of hard to me. They come through the turn. The 6 horse is on the lead. The 5 to its outside, creeping up on the 6 horse. The 1 horse to the outside of the 5, 3 wide. Could be a tough way to win. Got the 2 horse on the rail. Looks like the jockey's got plenty of horse left on the 2. The 3 horse, it's making its move as well, trying to split. It looks like it's going to run up into traffic, though, so it could have a really tough trip from here. The 2 horse is kind of stuck behind a wall of horses, and he's got the most horse right now. It just doesn't have anywhere to go at all. They've pinned that 2 horse in. 5 horse is taking the lead. The jockey really hasn't asked much out of the 5 yet because he knows that the other horses are pinned behind him. He's just now asking the 5 horse to go. It's that terrible angle where you have no idea what is going on. The 5 horse continues.
Something is going on.
Yes, as they come up the hill right there. Looks like it's going to be the 5 horse as your winner, Thomas. The 3 horse is going to finish second. Then the 1 horse, the 5, the 3, the 1, and the 2. 5, 3, 1, 2. And I have to say, Tom, I really do think the 2 horse was the best horse in that race. But
did not get the trip.
No, he got stuck behind that wall. Then the jockey had to break the momentum and pull that horse out, and the horse never really regained its momentum. So maybe personal best might be a horse you want to add to your horses to watch. Next time out, maybe the odds will be higher than they should be because of that effort right there. Race number 3. Busy at work today? What do you do, Christopher, on the weekends? Let us know. Maybe we can refer some folks to here. I think one of the great things about our community, we hope, is that we can maybe, you ever see those commercials, Tom, where they're like the guy's at the gym and he does this, and the guy and the lady next to him at the gym set some complimentary business and they can work together. That would be great if we can do that sort of stuff with our community here. Absolutely. Would also be great if you like what you see, if you give us a thumbs up. Again, only 1 out of 10 people who watch hit the subscribe button or hit the bell. We do a lot of work around here, a lot of great content that we provide. I'm telling you, as a horse player, I've been in this game since, God, I don't know, like 1990s, so almost 40 years. And I learned so much from our guests on Horse Center. It is really worth your time. And then those are usually Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, 8 p.m. We won't be going live this Monday because Sean, who really couldn't stand Aaron Rodgers when he was a Green Bay Packer, now has him winning the Super Bowl because of Aaron Rodgers, because he's a New York Jet. Because the Jets are on Monday Night Football, there won't be a Horse Center, but there will be one on Tuesday and Wednesday. So you want to check that out. Myself and Terry will be back Monday and Tuesday for Parks picks like we're doing right now. I think, Tom, you'll join me Wednesday for the last day of Kentucky Downs.
Kentucky Downs, yeah.
And I'm not quite sure what we're going to do on Thursday. Charles won't be able to make it on Thursday. So maybe be Terry and I. Maybe I'll go solo. We'll find out and let you know.
Maybe I'll be around. I have to look at my schedule.
All right. So Tom,
depending on what time, because I'm going to the Brewers game at 1. It starts at 1. So
we'll do something a little bit earlier so you can make it off to the Brewers game. Best way to make sure you know what's going on around here. Again, hit the subscribe button. Follow us. You see down there below, Horse Race, the number 2 day. On Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, Threads, and our good friend Sean, he's putting up so much content that our Facebook page and all that stuff is exploding. Over 1.6 million people checked in on what we were doing last month on Facebook, or views, probably some of the same people over and over again, but he keeps everybody engaged. All right. You detailing a car. Nice. Do you own the shop? I know a lot. I used to play basketball with a guy over here in Chicago who owned 5 car washes. My man had lots of money. It sounds, I mean, that's a business that if you can get into it, you wouldn't think it, but man, if you
Yeah,
own those
no,
things, you
I've
make a
known people
killing.
own car washes too and done very well.
Mm. It's something I wish I would have did as a kid, right? Bought a
Right.
bunch of car washes. All right. Well, hopefully, Tom, as grown men in the final race today at Kentucky Downs, where they're really running for a lot of money, Thomas. What's going
Yeah,
on in
they
this one?
certainly are. This is the 1.5 mile race. It is the Turf Cup. It is a grade 2 race, and the money is not chump change, and there are no $5,000 claimers in this race.
And there shouldn't be. At 1.5 miles, so far they won one race, Tom. It was a stalker that won from way outside. That data is kind of meaningless, but this data hopefully is not. Looking at the final race here, Tom, early speed. Look at that horse. Get Smoking will live up to its name. It will be smoking it. And I just noticed this, Tom. So I probably should have put this in my picks, but look at Get Smoking. 71.15, 71.15, 7.51. A little bit of a inverse there. There's too much parallel there for me to avoid all that. That's your winner right there, just from a numerology standpoint. Get Smoking. If you're looking for some value, Red Knight, 4-1 morning line. Our simulation says you can cut that price in half and still get fair value. Get Smoking also. I mean, that one's half of what its morning line should be. And also all these numbers there. Beware of Get Smoking. A lot of dark green over here for our C-Zone. Christopher D'Souza joins us, loves the C-Zone. He can vouch for how effective it is in finding price horses. The final time today, let's take a look at what the race shape portends. Thomas, everybody except these 3 right here wants to be middle back. Again, in this race shape, my preference as a handicapper is to find something that's middle forward. If that's your preference too, looks like Get Smoking, 8 points faster than the next closest horse, Tom. It means a length and a half lead. Doesn't really maybe have to work that hard. Looking at the late speed in here too, Tom, Red Knight, a whole bunch of really good, solid late legs from this group right here. Our total pace numbers tell us that this is going to be a pretty competitive race, although Get Smoking, Tom, a horse we both passed on, does grade out 5 points better than the next one. Maybe we should reconsider Get Smoking with all those 7.15s in there, Tom, but we both
Yeah,
passed.
but I think you may be smoking something with that horse.
Maybe. It's legal now, so I mean, it's not like I get in any trouble. Anyhow, I think most people prefer the gummies nowadays, but I mean, I'm too old for that stuff. But anyway,
I don't prefer it all, but that's just me. With that, I'm going to take the old guy, 9-year-old Red Knight, my top choice. He's still got what it is to win races at this level. I mean, it's really impressive. He's won a place in 9 of his 14 races at this distance. He will he may have the 2-hole, but he's going to be on the outside someplace and rallying a bit wide at the end, and that's the way he runs. He has been at this track before, and he's got a win, and he's got a second. So he knows his way around. Next one I'm going to take is Santine, the 4. And really ran a great race last time out in the Arlington Million. Just couldn't hold on. And that was really its best effort of the year after some really mediocre runs prior to that race. And, the workouts are not anything special, but there never are if you look at them. But interesting, my top choice is being ridden by Tyler. And he normally rides Santine, but I don't think you lose anything with Florent Giroux riding.
Not much, if anything.
Finally, I'm going to take the 6, me and Mr. C. Won the last 3 races, coming from off the pace. This will be his first attempt at this distance, but the work says he's ready, and he's been improving, and this is a place to really stick it out.
All right. In the last race, I agree with you. Let's put that 9-year-old. Grandma Horse Racing has the filly on filly theory. I have the old man, and old man picking the old man theory. Does have a win in place, and 2 at Kentucky Downs, has a really ton of backlash. The bullet and go workout in here on that 2-horse, the last workout on this old man, tells me that it's ready to live up to some of that backlash in there, Tom. 9-year-old is going to run like he's 5-year-old today. Number 3 gets the next call for me. Verstappen, stepping up the class ladder, Tom, and stands to go up another notch with its performance in the 3rd race after a layoff. Number 7, Kiddo Dan, chased some really fast fractions last time out. Maybe a little bit of a slower tempo here because you see there wasn't a whole lot of early speed in this race in terms of the race shape. And another one making the classic 3rd start after layoff. And finally, Therapist. I don't know why, but no matter when I'm handicapping and Therapist is in a race, somehow it makes its way into my picks. So, and the funny thing about that horse, when I don't pick him, he wins. And when I pick him, he doesn't win. So I picked him today, folks. You follow that logic, you might want to go with Tom's 4 or 6 in that 4 spot there. That wraps up all of our picks today at Kentucky Downs. Yes, indeed. Here is the way this is the way all of our picks look. In race number 1, let's go back and see race number 1. The 11-horse one, a bunch of first timers in that one. In race number 2, I think the 12-horse one. Let's see if we see any indication in race number 2. The 12-horse did score out as your top total pace horse in there. So that went to form as far as total pace is concerned. Race number 3, the 5-horse one, Tom. And that was your top total pace horse in there. I will go back on the YouTube video and I will put in the race times for every single race in the description. Along with that description, you will see a link to Guaranteed Tip Sheet where I do a lot of the handicapping, folks. Prairie Meadows is the free track of the day. That'll come on at 7 p.m. Eastern. Kindly use the link in the description below. But I would go back and look and pay attention. If you see that the top total pace horses continue to do well, go ahead and look at those top total pace horses in the videos. Again, I will load up the video times in the description below in just a few minutes after the show is over. Tom, any final thoughts before we get up and get out of here on the day today?
Well, I'd point out, starting with this race, the pick 5 is a mandatory payout race. So you may want to, if you like to play the pick 5s, then the money generally is pretty good at Kentucky Downs. So if you got a few long shots that you think are going to hit, you could end up with a nice payday.
If you can string 5 winners to go in a row together at Kentucky Downs, you're
doing really good.
You deserve a big payday, right? There's no question about that. All right, Thomas. Well, I hope no matter what everybody else is doing for the rest of this weekend, we certainly hope you get God's grace and God's favor. Again, Terry and I will be back Monday and Tuesday for Parks. We'll start about 10 minutes before post time. Thomas will join me at least for Wednesday for closing day at Kentucky Downs, maybe Thursday as well. We'll pick something a little earlier in the day since Saratoga is closed. Jamie and Sean will return Tuesday and Wednesday for Horse Center. Until all of that, we hope that no matter what you're doing for the rest of your weekend, everything that you do ends up in one place, Mr. Thomas, and that
is the winner's enclosure.
Indeed. Fantastic weekend. Again, thanks for joining us. Look forward to getting together soon.